Hello, welcome back to Sextras,
where we talk about sex and all the extras.
I'm Honey, and my fun fact is that I only watched Jurassic Park this week for the first time because I was having like a little bit of an existential crisis thinking about how the dinosaurs like existed on this earth. And I was like, I just don't think I've ever really sat down and thought about the gravity of the situation that such big reptiles / birds lived on this planet before we did. So yeah, I was like, oh, I need to see some visuals of this to put it into perspective. So Jurassic Park was like the perfect solution.
Hi, I'm Maria, and my fun fact is that over the last couple weeks, I'm pretty sure I've watched like 8 or 9 TV shows. I was trying to count, but I keep getting them all mixed up. So yeah, pretty sure I've watched like 8 or 9 TV shows.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You're so impressive.
So impressive. I'm so proud of myself.
This week we have our 10th episode, which is crazy.
Happy 10 episodes,
Thank
guys.
you for everyone for listening. We are going to be talking about friends and relationships and putting those two worlds together. What happens if your friend doesn't like your significant other? How important is that to you, and what should you do? And what happens when your significant other doesn't like your friend, and how to deal with that. Or if you don't like your significant other's friends, like that's kind of a bit problematic. So yeah, we're just going to be having a little chat about that, and we have a segment for you guys which we asked you,
like, what is something you wish to confess to your best friend's boyfriend or girlfriend or their ex? Like, what is something that you wish you could have told the truth about, or just what you really think about their relationship deep down, you know?
Your true unfiltered opinion, because I feel like so many people have opinions about their friends, significant others that you can't really say, like it's not your place, but you do have a strong opinion. So, and this is the first main episode that we recorded together, which is very exciting.
I know, very exciting. Yeah, so let's go into the segment. I'll read the first one. So, I think my friend's relationship is toxic as fuck, and that the behaviors they both exhibit are codependent.
I feel like this is a tricky one, because if you really think that, then it's like you kind of should say something to your friend, but at the same time, if they're the kind of person that doesn't really take that kind of feedback or criticism very well, they might see it as you like interfering if they don't see it like that.
Yeah, I feel like with this kind of thing, the most you can do is sort of try to talk to them about it if they seem like they're really closed off about it, and they're really I don't know, they just get defensive straight away. Then you saying stuff like this, I guess, is like not gonna help. It's just gonna push your friend further away. But I mean, I get that it's really hard thinking that someone's relationship is toxic and that they exhibit really codependent behaviors and stuff like that, and you feeling like can't say anything.
Yeah, I would say just try to like suss out the situation and see how your friend feels before you, like, if you are thinking about saying anything, just kind of see like if they seem receptive to that kind of advice, or if they are kind of looking for a way out, then it's like, oh well, this is the perfect opportunity for me to express my opinion.
But I feel like a lot of people feel that way about their friends. They just feel like it's a little bit toxic, or like a little bit, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. But then, I don't know, you don't really know how to say anything, I guess, a lot of the time, because you don't want to make your friend feel like you're attacking them.
Yeah, and the last thing you want to do in those kinds of situations is to lose your friend, or for them to feel like they can't come to you because you're going to be judgmental. So I feel like the best way to approach it is showing them that it's because you're concerned, rather than just being like, oh, I really don't agree with your relationship or anything. Like, just do it from a place of love.
And I mean, if they snap back at you and they get really defensive, then like you can always leave it, I guess. And you tried, and just try to be there for your friend if you can. If you just can't deal with it, then completely fair enough, up to you. But if you still want to be there for your friend, then after a few times mentioning it and they just get really defensive and stuff, then maybe just leave it. Try not to push your friend away further, because if it is toxic and they are codependent, like, your friend's gonna need you more than ever, I guess. which is unfair, but
Yeah, and they're also probably not going to realize that it's codependent. The next one is he's actually just so immature and a dick trying to be one of the boys. I love these kinds of things because I just want to know what people think of their friends' significant others. Like, I'm like, oh, I always have opinions, but I'm like, I don't know if I should say them. There's not really much you can do about that either. Like, it's not the kind of thing that he can change, even if you expressed it to your friend and your friend like tried to say something to their boyfriend.
The whole like one of the boys thing, it could be like a plus for your friend, you know what I mean? Like she might actually be into that kind of guy, but you're just not, which is fair enough. The whole like immature and a dick, I feel like it just comes along with the personality that you just don't mesh well with them, and that's completely fair enough. I feel like you don't have to like your friend's boyfriend as long as it seems like they're doing well by themselves and they suit each other and they're happy together, like in their own little world, and you just don't like the guy. I feel like that's when you kind of don't voice it. Like if they're perfectly nice and treating everyone okay, it's just like you might not like their personality, then I feel like that's when you kind of stay out of it, because it's like, well, you're not dating him, are you? It's your friend. So
yeah, but it is kind of true that if your friend is like complaining to you or coming to you about their significant other, then you're like wrapped up in the relationship.
Yeah, true.
There are like boundaries that you have to stick to in terms of what you can and can't say.
Should we move on?
Okay, moving on.
I love him, but I kind of get jealous of him sometimes.
Oof, this is too real. I just always get jealous, even though I have a boyfriend. Like I'm like, oh, all my friends have boyfriends, like I want them all to myself. But it's just stupid. Like I don't actually care that much at the end of the day.
I mean, I get that. You just don't want to like share your friend.
Yeah, true.
Even if she's happy. Like I get the whole like, I love him, he's actually a great guy, but it's like, oh, I just want my friend to myself.
You're mine, bitch. Someone else said they're indifferent. Fair enough, really. You don't have to care. I feel like we care so much more, and probably some people listening to this are like, why do you care? Just get out of their business.
Another person said, I think one of my best friend's boyfriends is a nice guy, but just extremely immature and rushing her to commit so fast. They're moving together after only being together 5 months.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I feel like this is kind of difficult to see, because if you have limits about when you would move in with someone or when you would say you love someone, and then someone else's time span for those things is way shorter or like way longer than yours, it's kind of difficult to really have an open mind about it.
Yeah.
But 5 months, in my opinion, is kind of really fast. Like if they're, I feel like that's difficult. Like, can you really know someone after 5 months enough to move in with them?
I mean, I just don't really think it's your place to say anything. I do completely get feeling like they're moving too fast, and like those thoughts are so valid. Like I would also think that, but I remember like I've thought times that you were doing things way too fast, or like sometimes your friends just move a lot faster or a lot slower than you would, and you have some kind of judgment about that. But at the end of the day, it's like everyone's gonna do things at their own pace. I'm sure that my friends have thought I've done things way too fast, which is completely fair enough, but I think everyone is just kind of trying to like see what works and like just kind of going through it. And it might be, I think obviously say something if you think it's a terrible idea. Like if there's a lot of other factors contributing to why this is a horrible idea, then I do think like say something. But if it's just you thinking that they're moving too fast, then like there's not much you can do unless there's other factors in place, as I said.
Yeah, I think all you can do is just be there for your friend if it doesn't work out, or like if they have some complaints, because I'm sure that will be difficult at first for them, and like it's probably scary for them as well. So yeah, just try and be there for them.
Yeah, but to be fair, I so get what this girl means about feeling like... Because it's not that she thinks her friend is the one that's moving too fast. I think she thinks the guy's rushing her, which that's kind of a different thing as well.
Yeah, that is kind of worrying as well. Like, if you feel like they don't have the control, not that one person has to have like ultimate control in the relationship, but if you feel like they're kind of being forced into something that maybe they're not ready for, or maybe it's like more one-sided, then yeah, I think it can definitely be difficult to watch. Another one is, one of my best friends is so well matched with her boyfriend. I love them individually and I love them as a couple. It's their 4-year anniversary today, and if they ever break up, I will be so devastated. I want to be the godmother to their children. Okay, this is a nice little positive one.
Yeah, I love
Very
that.
cute.
It do be kind of sad though. Like, what if you really like your best friend's boyfriend, or like your boyfriend's friends, and then the whole breakup is like another added layer of, but I'm never gonna see these people again. Like, how sad.
I don't know, maybe as we get older it will be more that people can just be civil and stay friends without. But I do think obviously people have bad breakups when they're adults, but hopefully it kind of changes the older we get. Like, you do just stay friends with people rather than it's like everyone has to pick a side, you know?
Yeah.
It's cute that you're like so invested.
Yeah, I love that. Next one. He was a dick to her, but he was nice, and if she didn't date him, I probably would get with him.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just don't work together, but I can't relate to like wanting to get with your friend's boyfriend.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, have you ever fancied like one of your friend's boyfriends? Have you ever wanted to get with them?
No, I really don't think I have.
I'm trying to think if I have.
I've like thought that one of my friend's boyfriends is like really hot before they started dating, and thought, oh, like, yeah, I would like get with him, but like when they were dating I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, but I think that's what she meant in the thing. She said like, if she didn't date him, I probs would get with him.
That's fair. I guess I have then. Very relatable.
I don't think I have. I have thought my friends like significant others were fit or whatever, but I don't think I've ever actually been like so far as like, oh, I would get with them. I mean, I have fucked one of them, but like I wouldn't get with him again. So it's kind of different.
Yeah, like recognizing that they're like attractive, or you kind of see why someone's dating them. Okay, the next one is, she needs to get over him. Oh my god, I do not approve of this man. Thank God they broke up. Yeah, I feel like it's difficult. Firstly, seeing your friend is in a relationship with someone who you just don't like and don't approve of, but then when they break up and it's like taking a while for her to get over him, and you're like, why are you wasting your time over this person? Like, you can move on and live your life. Don't let them like dictate your life.
Yeah, it's so hard when you're not wrapped up in all the love feelings, and you can kind of just see the person like pretty objectively, and what they how they've treated your friend, and you're just like, they're literally a piece of shit, and your friend just cannot see it for some reason, even after they break up. It's so fucking frustrating because there's no way of even convincing them, because I feel like when they're at the ex, like, you can talk all the shit you want, you can tell the truth, you know. Once they've already broken up, you throw out all the like, but don't you think that he was kind of like manipulative, you know? Like, that's when you start throwing out all the evidence.
Yeah.
And like, that's even harder because it's like, you're being completely honest, you're laying it out for them, and obviously like you can see it so easily, but because they're still wrapped up in all these feelings, it's so much harder for them, and it's so frustrating. But I guess all you can be is patient. At least they're an ex now, like part one of the problem is gone.
Yeah,
so it's just a little bit of patience.
Yeah, all you have to do is preventative measures as well. Make sure she's not like running back to him.
I feel like with a few of our friends, like, it's gone into a point of, in the past and stuff, like stuff I've experienced before, I feel like it just does get to a point that you just give up. You're kind of just like, okay, well, they know how I feel. They know that they think that they're just like not a great person, and they don't care. Like, clearly they don't care. They don't mind being treated like this because they're still allowing it.
Yeah.
And I know whatever I say, they're just going to make excuses. And I don't know, like, I feel like everyone kind of knows when it gets to that point of like, okay, what am I going to say? There's nothing I can say now.
Yeah, and I feel like people in that position, they they're in that relationship already for a reason, because they want to be treated that way. Like subconsciously they like have that opinion of themselves, whether that's from before the relationship or because the relationship has kind of like broken them down so much that they just have such a low opinion of themselves. So for them to then leave, it's like, no, that's not how it works. It's not the natural progression of the relationship. So I feel like all you can do is kind of show your friend the value that they have in themselves, like without this other person, and try to like bring the best out of them, and then maybe just provide that safe space so they at least know themselves outside of the relationship and they know their own value, so then maybe they can take the steps to like getting out of the relationship themselves without you having to directly interfere, because I feel like that can get really messy and it just causes resentment.
I don't know, I feel like we definitely do want to dive into a whole episode on sort of what to do if you're in a toxic relationship, how to help your friend that's in a toxic relationship and all of that, and dive a lot more into that, because I do think that that is different to sort of just having an opinion or a dislike, or I don't know.
But I do think toxic relationships are a lot, like they're very common. You witness your friends going through that, you maybe go through it yourself. So yeah, we definitely will dive into that deeper, but for now this episode is more just on the surface level of, do you dislike your friend? Do they have fundamental, no, not your friend, do you dislike your do you dislike your friend's significant other or your significant other's friends, and do they have like a fundamental difference?
Yeah.
Or is it something you can deal with?
And like, how important is it for your friends to like your boyfriend to like your friends? But yeah, enjoy, guys.
Okay, so what do you think? Do you care if your boyfriend doesn't like your friends? And do you care if your friends don't like your boyfriend?
I mean, yeah, I really want my boyfriend's friends to like me, so I really care. But I mean, and then I also felt like really strongly about how like I really wanted my friends to really like my boyfriend, but I feel like I kind of care a lot less now.
But I feel like at the start you definitely care more.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that it's kind of hard as well, because your friends, you tell them a lot of stuff, but they don't actually know what the relationship is like, and a lot of the time you'll just be complaining and stuff like that. So then it comes across as though your relationship is worse than it is. So then when your friends start criticizing it or whatever, I feel like people can get really defensive. And like, I think that's what happened to me, and I just got really defensive.
And I feel like there's a difference between, do you like their personality? Like, would you personally be friends with them, or would you personally date them, versus like, can you tolerate them, and like, do you like them enough to like hang out with them every now and again because you have to hang out with your friend and their significant other? So like, you don't have to want to be friends with your friend's significant other. Like, that's not what we're asking. You just have to like tolerate them and think that they're like a good enough person for your friend to date.
Yeah.
But I think also people get really caught up in being like, oh, this person like isn't good enough for my friend, which like I definitely do that too. Because you like know your friends so well, so you're like, oh, I just want the best for them. But then they kind of know what's best for them in the end.
Yeah, and then also you can like, I don't know, your boyfriend's or girlfriend's friends as people, but then maybe you can just not like them for your friend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because sometimes people can be like good people, but then in a relationship they just clash. Sometimes people just don't work in relationships, and it's not because anyone's a bad person, it's just because you just don't work together, and that's fine. But if someone's getting really hurt, like if your friend's getting really hurt by their significant other, then I feel like that's when you would step in and be like, okay, well, maybe this relationship isn't good for you. And it's nothing to do with like hating their significant other personally, it's just overall you don't think that they work in a relationship.
Okay, so then when do you think is it really your place to say something to your friend? Like, would you tell your friend if you didn't like their boyfriend? Or is it only okay to say it if it reaches a certain degree of you don't like them for kind of a specific reason. Like, where is the boundary? When should you say something? And when do you think it's like mind your own business?
I don't know, because I feel like I'm not very good at that. Like, I feel like I will just say when I don't like someone. Maybe I'm just not very good at judging when I should give my opinion. Can I answer from the person who's in the relationship's perspective? Because we've like had this problem in the past where I've been dating someone and you're like, oh, this person isn't good for you. And then obviously I respect your opinion, so I'm like, oh, well, I know she doesn't approve, but then I'm still kind of in my head like, oh no, but maybe I can make it work. But then once I hear the same thing from like 4 other people, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe all these people are right and all these people have my best interests at heart. And yeah, I think it's kind of tricky to know when is the best time to step in. But if it's like you feel like someone's becoming really unhappy from the relationship and not being improved by the relationship, they're just being held back or like made more miserable, then that's when you don't have to be like, oh, this person is horrible, I hate them. You can just be like, have you ever thought maybe you're just like not right for each other, or maybe I'm concerned for you, so I want you to think about if this is the best decision for you.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's also in terms of like when it's getting into an unhealthy zone. But what about if you just genuinely, and we can get into that a bit later, but what about if you just genuinely just don't like the guy or the girl, just don't like them?
You think they're like a horrible person?
You just don't like this person. You don't think that they're a very nice person. Like, you just don't think that they're nice, and you... Yeah.
I feel like you have to be able to step back and be like, okay, is this something that is a problem with me and I just don't like this person because they don't like the same things that I do? Or is it like a fundamental flaw where like other people would meet this person or your other friends would meet this person and be like, this guy is an actual horrible person and like
what if
asshole?
And then what if he just had like a worldview that was a bit like something that went against your moral values?
I feel like it's really hard because there's things in my relationship that I'm like, I disagree with your morals, and he's my actual boyfriend. So like, how do you draw the line when it's someone else's boyfriend? Because I can sit here and say I'd never date a Trump supporter. Not saying my boyfriend is a Trump supporter, I'm just giving this example. I would never date a Trump supporter. I would never date a Tory. But when it comes down to it, would you actually stick to that if that person makes up for it in other ways? But I feel like if it's a fundamental character, like personality trait, that they're a Trump supporter and they always talk about Trump and they promote like rape and
it's a bit extreme
and they're overtly racist and anti-immigrant and pro-life, then yeah, and that's like their only personality trait, and you can't have a conversation with this person without thinking, ugh, they're disgusting.
Yeah, but I feel like that's kind of quite extreme. Like, I would not expect my friend to date someone that completely contrasts in all of my like values and worldviews and all of that stuff, because I feel like if it's your best friend, likelihood is you feel similarly about these things already. So I mean, yeah, it's quite extreme, but then like, what the fuck do you do then? I feel like you just would have to say something. You would just have to be like, this guy isn't, or this girl is an absolute, you can't go there. Like, I feel like I would just have to say that. Yeah. But then I feel like if you just dislike them or you're just not too sure, I don't know, I feel like it's not really your business. Don't personally think that you should necessarily voice if you just dislike them, unless they specifically are asking you like for details and stuff. Then you can just be like, oh, I don't know, like I'm glad you're happy. I don't know, he's not like my kind of guy, but I really appreciate you being happy together and stuff. I don't know, I think as long as you show your friend that you're being supportive and not betraying like your values and all of that stuff, I think you're fine. I mean, I think I would say something if it's a bit extreme, and also I just can't keep my opinions to myself, so like I would just say something. Yeah,
because I know in the past like I have said, oh, I don't like how your boyfriend treats you, but that's because I only hear the bad side of it. And I'm like, okay, well, now I know I shouldn't really say that kind of thing because it's not the full picture and it's not really my business. And he's not a bad person. That's the thing. And people have different limits of what they can take with different like personality traits. You can't just butt in and say, oh, I hate this, and like slag off your friend's significant other. That would be wild. Imagine you were just constantly chatting shit about them.
What is it okay to say to your friends about your relationship and your boyfriend, and what is it okay to say to your boyfriend about your friends?
I feel like we're the worst people to ask this question to, because I literally tell my friends everything about my relationship, and my boyfriend will be like, don't tell them this, like it's gonna make me look bad. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to look bad, don't do things that make you look bad, because I'm gonna tell everyone anything. But I feel like that is kind of unfair too. You have to be aware. I tell my friends everything. I tell my family everything. Like, I don't really have a filter. I mean, obviously I talk more to my friends about sexual stuff than I do to my family. But yeah, if it's like arguments or disagreements we've gotten into, I don't really feel like that's something you shouldn't share. But I don't know, I do also think that I have overstepped that boundary in the past, and that's kind of what we're learning to navigate at the moment, because he gets annoyed that I'm always like chatting shit in quotation marks about air quotes about him. And he's like, yeah, I don't like that you do that, like it makes me look bad or it makes the other person uncomfortable. But to me, I'm just like, oh, it's just good times. Like, I don't actually, like, I'm not saying it because I hate you, and I'm like, get me out of this relationship. I'm saying it because it's like, haha, so relatable.
I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that they're your stories as much as they are your partner's.
Yeah.
And like, it's your life as much as it is theirs. So in that sense, I feel like it's really unfair of someone to be like, oh, you shouldn't be talking to your friends about this, and like about our sex life or about our arguments or whatever it may be. I feel like it is slightly unfair, but then again, like everything in a relationship, I feel like you have to set boundaries with that person. Like, the goal isn't to make someone unhappy. So even if you are of the opinion that you really want to talk to your friends about your sex life and your partner is a bit uncomfortable with it, then it's all about having a conversation and coming to a middle that will make you both happy, rather than you just being like, oh, well, I don't give a fuck, they're my stories too, I'm just going to tell my friends, and then your partner being upset, and then the other way around, like you just can't talk about your sex life and then you feel really trapped because you can't vent to anyone. And then I also think it's really important to have at least one person outside of your relationship that you can talk to about your relationship. I'm not saying you have to divulge every single detail of your sex life and every single argument and the most horrible thing that your boyfriend has ever said to you. Like, maybe if that's something that you don't feel comfortable sharing with your friend, or like within your relationship, it's not something that you want to outsource to other people. But I do think that it can get really scary if your partner is kind of telling you like, oh, well, you shouldn't talk to these people about our sex life, you shouldn't talk to anyone about our arguments, they're gonna make me look bad. But if you can't talk to anyone about that, then you're trapped with this one person in this one situation, and there's no way that you can get any perspective or advice on it if you're not talking to anyone. And I think it's healthy to like talk through any of your problems about anything to other people. And then at the same time, sorry, I've been talking for a while, but at the same time, I do think it's important to you yourself be mindful, like, how is this making my relationship look? Not that you are trying to paint the perfect picture, but I do think that at a certain point, when I kept sharing a lot of stuff about my relationship and arguments me and my boyfriend were having, and then at one point you kind of turned around and you were like, oh, I don't know, I just don't feel like you guys are that good together or whatever. And then I started being in my head getting really annoyed and upset, and I knew that a lot of it came from me just talking shit rather than me sharing the whole view. I don't know, I think that's something I'm really conscious of now. Like, you don't know everyone's full view of their relationship, and maybe you shouldn't be bitching about your boyfriend all the time to your friends, because then they're gonna think that he's a terrible guy. Like, if you do want to do that, then maybe also talk about the good things. Be a little bit selective on what you do share and you don't share, and then maybe discuss it with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and see where your boundaries lie in terms of all of that.
Yeah, and I think as well, it also depends on if you really care about your friends liking your significant other, because if you don't really care, then it's like, yeah, go ahead, just bitch all you want, that's fine. But if you do care and you want your friends to like them, then yeah, maybe you should be like a bit more selective. Or as the friend of the person in the relationship, if you kind of notice that they're saying loads of bad, like negative things about their relationship, maybe don't go in super extreme and be like, give your flat out opinion about what you think of their significant other. Just be like, oh, how's it going? I noticed things haven't been going so well lately. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? Or like, what are your feelings about it? Rather than imposing your opinion, because I feel like that can get tricky. And the most important thing to share is like, if it's an ongoing conflict, because I know there's like things in my relationship right now that happen where I'm like, okay, I really need to talk about this thing. It's an ongoing problem. And if I hadn't told anyone about it, I would have been very unhappy. And so I had to tell like you and like my mom to kind of talk through those things and to like help me have some other perspective and some advice and that kind of thing. So I feel like those instances are really important to share, whereas other negative things, it's like, yeah, you kind of do have to be a bit more careful. And also just try to like say some positive things about your partner every now and again. I feel like that's kind of nice to do.
Yeah, and then I think as the friend, like sort of listening in on all this like relationship drama from your friend in a relationship and stuff, really keep an open mind. Think about like times when you've been in a relationship that maybe you're not painting the full picture, so just keep an open mind that your friend's relationship has a whole other side to it that you're not privy to. So I think maybe if you're scared about it, let's say your partner is really against you telling your friends about your fights and stuff and all of this stuff. Like, let's say your partner really doesn't want you talking to your friends about your relationship.
Yeah.
Maybe a way to kind of make this easier for you so you don't feel like you're disrespecting them. Like, really just give a disclaimer at the start, like, oh, guys, something's really been bugging me. You know, like, I'm happy, but I do think that this is an issue. What do you guys think? As long as you, as a friend, keep an open mind, you can kind of create this like a lot safer space with at least like maybe one or two people that then you can confide in, and it doesn't feel like you're betraying your partner as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of horrible to be friends with someone or be in a group of friends and go in wanting to talk about something or just like vent and know you're going to be met with judgment, rather than just like someone who will listen and someone that will just let you say what you want to say without trying to sort it out, and creating a safe space where maybe they can also talk about their relationship and you guys can kind of have an open dialogue is a really important way to deal with having friends in a relationship and having your friends know about your relationship, but also like a good balance. I was also going to say that I think as someone in a relationship, I know what it's like to just constantly be complaining about your boyfriend, and you kind of just get carried away with it. But then recently, very recently, like in the last few days, I've been like, okay, well, maybe I can say something positive at the same time as saying something negative. So then it also gets you in that like right headspace. I feel like you can get just trapped in saying negative things all the time. But then when you try to find something positive to say as well, it kind of lifts you out of that, and then you're like, you see the balance more in your own relationship, so you feel less of a need to complain to your friends, because you're like, oh well, he does do something that I don't like, but he also does this other thing which I like. So in your mind it's more balanced, and then to other people it will seem more balanced rather than all super negative at once. And also maybe if you feel more positive overall, you just wouldn't even need to say the negative thing to your friend.
Do you feel like you could give like an honest, unfiltered opinion of my relationship and my boyfriend to me? Like, do you think you could tell me straight up what you really think, or do you like
yeah, I think you know exactly what I think. I think you know like exactly what I think of your relationship. But I also think that I kind of know more since we've been doing the podcast, but also more just because you've been dating for longer, whereas before I kind of wasn't really that involved because I was in America for like 3 months, and that was kind of in the beginning-ish stages of your relationship. And I feel like you wouldn't be able to really give like a full-on informed opinion of my relationship, because I was like in a long distance relationship for like 7 months, and so like all you had was the bad stuff, because that was kind of a lot of bad stuff in that time, because it was just difficult to maneuver that. And then yeah, so now that you've met him, maybe you'd be able to give a more honest opinion. But I'm also like, I don't really know if you would, because you've only met him like 1.5
What about,
times.
is it kind of like a deal breaker if your friends don't like your boyfriend?
I don't know, because this is like the first time I'm introducing him to everyone, so I'm like, oh, I really care what everyone thinks, and like I really want everyone to like him. But then I'm also kind of aware of the fact that maybe they won't, but I think that's kind of cultural differences too, that maybe people won't like him. I don't know, maybe that's just something that's already in my head, so I kind of think other people will think that too. But I don't expect my friends to really, really like him and like want to be friends with him. But like I would really care if you liked him. Like I really want you to like him and I really want him to like you. He was like, what would you do if I didn't like Maria? I'm like, oh, well, you don't really have a choice. Like you kind of have to.
What if you don't like your boyfriend's friends at all? Like you hate them?
I feel like it's not really your place to say anything, but if it is like a deal breaker for you that you don't like his friends and they're all just a group of really horrible people, and you're like, well, the only reason my boyfriend would be friends with these people is if he holds similar views to them and he kind of fits in with that kind of vibe. So then I would be like, okay, well, do I really want to date someone who's like that? And then I would talk to them about if they feel the same way as their friends, or just kind of try to suss out the vibe and be like, oh, I can't believe your friend said this. What do you think? And then see what he says and then base what I do off of that. But I don't think I would want to carry on dating someone who is friends with horrible people. If he affirms that he holds the same views, I would be like, okay, I have to get out of this relationship right now, because he's not the person that I thought he was.
When my boyfriend's friends do something that I like disagree with, I'll always be like, oh, like, what do you think? Like, would you ever do that to me? And I'm like, if you ever do that to me, I'll fucking kill you, and like all of that stuff. And then I don't know, I think I really like my boyfriend's friends, and I think they're really great people. But I do think that it is quite reflective. Like your friends are quite reflective of the kind of person you are. So I do agree that if they were all like absolute douchebags, I would question my boyfriend a little bit. But I mean, I also think it's important to separate, like, your boyfriend isn't his friends. Like, they might do questionable shit, but it doesn't mean that your boyfriend is a bad person. But then also, like, it's kind of weird because I know that I don't think my friends, like, and our friend group is, like, necessarily my boyfriend's kind of people. I think that I know he likes you all and that he thinks that you're all great and whatever, but I know that it's not the kind of people he would go out there and be friends with. So I think, like, that's also very different. Like, you don't have to be best friends, you don't all have to be in the same group, and like, great if you all do become great friends, but then I also think that's tricky because then it's like, what if we break up? And then it's like I think the perfect spot is to like get on with them well, but you're not be able to
like hold a conversation with them, and, like,
but you're not like chilling with them by yourself all the time.
Like, you have a good time when you go out, all of you, but you wouldn't like make plans, and you don't like rave about how much you love them and want to like hang out with them all the time. But I also wouldn't want to be the significant other that's like, I don't like your friends, so like you have to choose between me or them. Like, make it, not even say that outright, but make them think they have to separate you too much, because I do think that everyone should just be able to coexist.
I completely get having like time for your friends and then time for your relationship, and like I do get like compartmentalizing those two, but I really don't get people that are like so strict about like, even with like like merging friendship groups or anything, like so strict about like no, like I'm hanging out with my boyfriend tonight and like I'm only hanging out with my friends tonight, and like those can never interlink. I think that's a bit excessive, and then it's a bit like, why not? And I don't know.
And being the friend that's like, please don't bring your boyfriend. Like, it's fine to do that every now and again, which we talked about in our last episode, but it's like, well, if you can't even hang out with your friend's significant other every now and again, you have to be like, well, maybe this is like a me problem, and I have to assess like, why am I so uncomfortable being around my friend and their partner? Because maybe you're just super jealous and you just can't hack it, and that's also not okay. But I think it's okay to be a bit jealous of your friend's significant other, because I literally get that all the time. I'm like, wait, but I'm Maria's best friend. Like, why? No, her boyfriend can't be, but obviously I know he is. And I'm like, well, my boyfriend's my best friend too. It's very different. But I'm also still like, It's competition.
I mean, yeah, I think you also have to be respectful of both relationships as well all the time. Like, don't neglect someone for the other.
Yeah, and I think your significant other has to be respectful of your best friend and be like, okay, well, I have to understand that their friendship is very different and they were probably there before I was, so it's kind of a very different dynamic and I don't really get to speak on that. I think if my significant other really didn't like you, like as my best friend, I would be like, if my dog didn't like my significant other, I'd be like, okay, sorry, no, that's just a red flag. Because my dog likes most people. When he doesn't like someone, I'm like, okay, well, that's such a bad sign.
I mean, if you and my boyfriend, like, couldn't even be in the same room because there was just all this tension or whatever, I would fucking hate that. I mean, would I be able to carry on the relationship? Maybe. I don't think it would be a whole fat deal breaker, but it would, I don't know, maybe it would actually.
It would be kind of
it's just
so
to be like,
deep.
grow up.
Yeah, it would be so deep. And I think that's kind of a big sign about like your friendship or your relationship as well, depending on who doesn't like who. If you get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very case-to-case basis and like what the reasons are and all of that stuff. So these are kind of some of our thoughts.
Maybe we should give some advice for our younger listeners, because I know at school and like maybe in the first year of uni, it's kind of difficult to navigate if you're dating someone who's like in the same friendship group as you, or even just kind of interlinked friendship groups, because then it can get kind of awkward if someone doesn't like your significant other, or even if your significant other doesn't like someone that you are like acquaintances with in the same school or like same uni, because I feel like it's just difficult to, you shouldn't have to stop being friends with someone or like stop just living your same life because your significant other doesn't like them. But then it's kind of difficult to know what you would choose if you're under that kind of pressure. Like, what would you do?
Well, I don't know, I just think anyone who gives the ultimatum has to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if my friend gives me the ultimatum, then sorry, but like, fuck off. And then if my boyfriend gives me the ultimatum, then sorry, fuck off. I mean, it obviously depends what the reason is. If like your friend is like, no, you have to break up with, like, if they're like literally full on abusive, and your friend's like, no, you have to break up with them, otherwise like I'm gonna cut you out, that's like a very different ultimatum. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, fuck the friend for giving me that ultimatum, how dare they. It's more like if it's literally come out of a jealousy thing, or like you don't like each other and it's like, choose me or him. It's like,
that's fucked up.
Yeah.
You have kind of given me like a semi-ultimatum like in the past, but that wasn't choose me or I'm not going to be your friend anymore. It was like, okay, well, you're making it difficult to be your friend because you're just hurting yourself. It's difficult to see. And like you have to do something about that. And I feel like we will do a whole episode on that too. Because what do you do when you're the friend in that situation, watching your friend being hurt by their significant other repeatedly? How do you deal with that, and how do you help them out of that? I feel like we should give advice on like how to deal with that situation.
But I mean, we can do like a story time, like a whole episode on that, because I feel like it's a lot heavier than like, we're kind of talking about more surface level shit. On this in this episode, but yeah.
Closing thoughts.
I love my boyfriend's friends, and I want all my friends to love my boyfriend, and I want my boyfriend to love my friends, and I want everyone to love each other.
Yes, like one big happy family. I can't relate. I have literally not met any of my boyfriend's friends, which is kind of terrifying. But I've met them on FaceTime and they were very nice. I've met some of his uni friends, but I haven't met them enough to know if I really like them. Or like if I would get on with them. So yeah, it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I want my boyfriend to like my friends. I'm like, you have to like them. Every time he meets someone, which is like pretty much every other day at the moment, I'm like, so what do you think? And every time he's like, yeah, they're good people. That was a really good person. Yeah, I like them. They're cool people. I'm like, no, you have to give me a more thorough analysis than that. Like, please, I need to know the details. What did you like? What didn't you like? Those are closing thoughts. Don't be too like swayed by someone's opinion. Don't be the person that doesn't want your friends and your significant other to interact at all, because that's just fucking weird and you're just putting yourself in a horrible situation.
And keep an open mind. Like, if your friend loves you and your boyfriend loves you, they already have something in common.
Yeah, you have the best of both worlds.
Surely they can meet somewhere in the middle. They can find some common ground, because if you love both of them and they both love you, then that means that there's already like shit to be in common there, you know?
Yeah, and even if you just talk to your significant other's friend about your significant other, just find something that you can like tease them about or something like that. It's easy. You don't have to butt heads with everyone you meet, even if they have some like minor things that you just don't really like about them.
But then also remember, not everyone in the world is gonna like you, and that's also okay. Have a little catch up of all our episodes.
Yes, please leave us a review, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts if that's where you listen. If you're listening on Spotify, you can still go onto Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and a
subscribe.
rating. Please subscribe, tell all your friends, and let us know what you want to see. Please, we would love to know any questions you guys have. Even if you send us a question, we will answer it in a whole episode maybe, or maybe we'll do an episode where we answer a lot of questions at once. And you can follow us on Instagram at Sextras Podcast, or email us at sextraspodcast@gmail.com, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi. Produced by Mabel Productions.